These times of hatred and violence didn't just start now. They were embedded in the founding of this country. And my own family's history was a part of it. I was a little boy standing on the hill, standing lookout, watching, looking for my dad to come home from his job on the railroad. My dad, he was 61 years old when he made me. I was his last hurrah. Me and my dad had a real special thing going on. I was the only one in the family that he let bring him home from that place where he'd go and get a drink. Ultimately, he'd get drunk. I'd stand outside that speakeasy, and somebody would look out and say, "Who's that cute little boy out there?" And I'd hear my dad's voice say, "That's my boy. That's my boy. Come here, boy." He never called me by my name. He'd take my hand and let me walk him down them steps, and then off we go home. We didn't have much time together, but the time we had was really special. I'm not sure why he told me this story that day. Maybe he wanted to impart some wisdom on me about politics in America. Or maybe he just had to get it off his chest. Or maybe he thought it was time that I became aware of my own family history. The year was 1909 on a farm in Georgia. My dad, 16 years old, was living with his extended family of aunts and uncles, cousins and brothers. They were sharecropping on the land where they had lived and worked for years. One of my dad's cousins, his name was Lawrence. He was real light-skinned, and he could pass for white. And he did it many times. And whenever they wanted something special from this guy, Mr. Johnson, that owned the land, they would send Lawrence up to negotiate for him, you know. This day they wanted to get 2 extra days off of work. So they sent Lawrence up to talk to Mr. Johnson, and they waited for him to come back. And they waited, and they waited, but he never returned. For 2 whole days, he was missing. So all the family got together and they went looking for him. And one of the cousins found him. He was hanging from a tree in the woods. He'd been shot many times and he'd been castrated. The family, they cut him down and they buried him right there. And then all the young men in the family, it's about 25 of them, went back and got guns, and they came back to that little town, and they started shooting and killing and shooting. When the smoke cleared in the end, 30 white people was dead. 3 of the cousins got killed by the police. A lot of the other ones got wounded and locked up, but 6 of them got away. My dad was one of those 6. So that's how my father, at age 16, changed his name, changed his identity, and escaped up north. He never saw or heard from his family again. Now, when he told me this story, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't imagine my father killing anybody. But when he was telling me the story, he was looking me right in the eyes. He was crying like a baby. I understood a whole lot more about my father that day. I could see in his tears that our family history was still coursing through his veins. Now listen, you can't hear a story like that or know about a situation like that without feeling something. Anger, outrage, rage, and the rage that I felt in me sent me down my own road of destruction. Now, I got my own story to tell. You see, I too was 16 years old when I got caught out after curfew by the police. I was walking home from a party. First thing I knew was these blinding lights in my eyes. And then my back was slammed against the wall, and I heard these racist police saying, "You black Sambo, you ought to be back in Africa." And then they started to beat me. And they beat me. And they beat me to a bloody pulp. And the only reason I think I'm alive today, when one of them pulled the gun from his holster and was going to aim it at my head, this old sister come down the street and saw him, and she screamed, "Oh my God, don't kill him! Don't kill him!" But the beating they gave me that night left me with 165 stitches in my head, a fractured arm, cuts and bruises all over my body, and a heart scarred with hatred, intent on revenge. Rage, rebellion, and revenge was now running the show. For 45 years, I cycled in and out of prison, being locked up, abused, disrespected by the police on the inside as well as on the outside. The anger that built up in me made me do some of the most despicable things on this earth. I hurt a lot of people. I stood over people with my hands around their neck. They'd be begging for me to stop. Please, please stop. But I wouldn't stop. I wouldn't stop. I might not ever be able to make up for all the wrong that I did. There's some things you can never atone for. Prison is a vicious, abnormal place. And I don't ever want to go back. I don't want nobody to have to spend the rest of their life in there. You see, to me, anybody that's sentenced to spend the rest of their life in prison is the same as saying that God can't change the hearts of men. And I know that's not true because he changed mine. That urge and willingness to hurt somebody, I don't know when and how it disappeared, but it's gone. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't know of no man that was changed for the good just by being sent to prison. But for those of us who turned our lives around, we did it in spite of the horrible things that we saw in there and the horrible people that we became while behind those walls of inhumanity. I can't pinpoint the exact thing that made me turn around. Maybe it was me studying and obeying the tenets of my religious belief, which is Islam. Maybe it was me finally taking an accounting of the wrong that I did. Maybe I just got older and wiser. And maybe, no, more than likely, it was God's grace. All I know is that I'm no longer governed by a rage that I can't control. What started out as hatred and revenge and loathing has now changed into a desire to enhance life, to give back to the community, to fight for my redemption because it's never too late. This once cold, dead heart has come back to life. And all I want to do is help as many people as I can. I didn't understand that helping people might mean that I have to work with the police. Now that wasn't an easy transition for me. But I found out that working with the police was a part of my own healing. And also, we might be creating a new paradigm there could be a healing for us all. Because it's never too late. Philando Castile, Sandra Bland, Freddie Gray, Eric Gardner, Trayvon Martin, I do this work for you.